Okay, any further, oh, yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-3. Next item. We are citizens to be heard. Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak tonight on an item that is not currently on the agenda? See, yeah, everything's on the agenda, so. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is a public hearing on the ordinance 2099 amending conditional use permit regulations. Is there anyone here? We're opening the public meeting at 9:45 p.m. 50. Oh, sorry. Right?
It's actually 9:45, that's.
Oh, 9:45, okay. Now my times are all wrong.
Sorry.
And is there anyone here that would like to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 9:46. And we'll go on to new business. We will consider ordinance 2099 amending conditional use permit regulations. Someone. Bart.
So the information provided in your packet has been recommended by the Plan Commission in order to clarify and streamline some conditional use permit standards that we've been talking about over the past year. Some of it was driven by a declined application that came back immediately, and there was a lot of question as to, which applications can come back under what circumstances. There were also questions of notification procedures and termination policies, things like that. So I reviewed neighboring municipalities' conditional use permit regulations and incorporated them into drafts. The Plan Commission discussed it at 2 meetings, ultimately recommending what's in your packet. As a brief synopsis, the amended changes would increase public awareness by requiring 200-foot notifications for conditional use permit applications. I would highly recommend that, just as someone who gets the questions from the neighborhood as to where this is going. I'd like to codify that standard. It would also detail written notice outcomes of consideration, so the applicants, get a notification of what happened for the file. Discuss prohibited alterations, extensions, and modifications of their applications. So if they come in with an approval for, X, they can't modify that without coming back to the Plan Commission. You would note that approvals shall be construed with the land and benefit future owners or occupants unless vacated for over 1 year. That's just a clarification thing that I get sometimes questioned about. There's a current conditional use, if it's a new owner, it doesn't have to come back. The answer has always been no, it doesn't come back, it's just a new owner. This would codify that standard. Similarly, applications approved by the Plan Commission would lapse and become null and void 1 year after the date of approval. That has come up several times with some mobile towers and cell towers that have gone through Plan Commission, but then ran into some barriers in terms of getting installed, so they kind of lapse for a year or two. The questions always come back about how long does this last. This would essentially tell them it lasts for 1 year. The next one discusses denied applications and the procedure for bringing those back based on changed conditions or new information. And then lastly, just to codify current procedure, it would identify reasons for termination in terms of how we would bring that back to the Plan Commission for potential termination of existing conditional use. As I mentioned, the Plan Commission did discuss this at 2 items, and they have recommended what is included within your packet for approval.
I want to thank Bart because I love the word codify, which just means documentation. So thank you, that was a lot to get into writing and into our policy. Anybody have any questions for Director Bart? Just okay.
The 200-foot notice, now I found it. Was there one that said you had to put a sign in front of your house?
There is not.
Okay, good, because I wouldn't. Is there anything that you are concerned about?
No, I'm quite pleased with the proposed change. That makes my job a lot easier in terms of communicating to both applicants and residents. So I would support the changes.
Do you recommend any changes?
I would recommend them, correct.
Okay. Do any others? Trustee Bachers.
Well, I guess this is for our village manager. Just wanted to know if you had any issue with the proposed changes. Okay.
I would move approval of ordinance number 2099, ordinance amending conditional use permit regulations.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Do we have a second? I'm sorry. Oh, trustee Carpenter, okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's a roll call vote.
Trustee Maher.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenter. Yes. Trustee Bachman.
No.
Trustee Amenta.
Aye.
Trustee McKay. Yes. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
President Rosick.
Yes. Okay, motion carries 6-0. 6-1? It's getting late. Trying to trigger. All right, we'll move on to the next item for new business.
Consider results for RFP for a Canadian land management plan and award of contract.
And we were going to defer, we've been recommended to defer. Is that correct, Rebecca? Until next meeting?
March 18th.
Okay, anyone have a problem with that? So we can just move
What was
to
the
that.
reason for the deferral?
There was an additional proposal that was submitted that we were unaware of by the deadline, so.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
so did you review the RFPs?
Mhm.
Okay, so with that deferral, we will move on to the next item, which is consider results of RFP for transportation and parking analysis and award of contract. Director Barr.
And I would also like to include trustee Warren and President Rosick who were involved with the review of this, to weigh in and anything that they have of note. So the timeline is within the memo that's been presented. So the board did approve $50,000 for a transportation and parking analysis last year, at which point an RFP for a consultant was issued, or reviewed and approved by the board and issued in December. We received 4 responses to that RFP. 3 of them were passed on to the interview stage based on initial review. The review panel was myself as staff, trustee Warren as chair of public works committee, chair Peter Hammond from the CDA, who was a sponsor and a contributing partner to the budget, and President Rosick as well. The 4 of us agreed to move the 3 firms onto interviews. We held the interviews last Thursday, based upon which it was a rather unanimous decision to proceed with awarding the contract to Walker Erickson.
Shocking too, because we all had different opinions going into it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, if you'd like to weigh in these particular aspects, we all unanimously agree that Walker Erickson would be our preferred choice to recommend to the board for approval. Following up on that, the next day, Friday, CDA met to discuss a contribution amount as well as a recommended firm. The CDA did vote to allocate $30,000 to the study. So the current budget amount is $80,000, and the CDA also did support the review panel's decision to recommend Walker Erickson. So that is where we're at tonight.
Oh, and just to chime in, we had 4 great proposals. We narrowed it down to, we were able to get down to 3. All different approaches, but this was unlikely that all the men were going to vote this way, but it turned out they really presented themselves well. They have a database of like 5,000 different techniques nationwide, collected for different parking and transportation methods. The facilitator sold us, if that's correct, he was probably one of the best facilitators, and will be our point person. We asked Bart, someone did, one of you two, to follow up and make sure that's our guy, because he was so good. We didn't want it to be like a show, like here you are, and then, oh, I'm not gonna be on the project. So, really impressive. I mean, a very, very impressive firm.
And just to add in, thank you to President Rosa for sitting in on that. It was very, very helpful. I completely agree. Going in, I don't think we necessarily thought it would turn out this way, but when went through the presentation, their presentation was tailored to Shorewood. We got confirmation that the project leader would be very involved with the study. Their diversity of experience and expertise, I think it was kind of a clear choice for everyone involved when we went through the process.
And they have really good knowledge of the technology also at the back end, whatever we decide on regulations.
That's great.
Trustee,
Who is on the technical advisory group again?
That has not been established. So that would be established as the next step as part of the communication plan for the project. So the first step was to issue the RFP and work on the contract, and then the next step would be that I would be presenting a communication plan in conjunction with the consultant, because they'll have expertise as to who to bring on to the project. But the actual components of that would be determined as the next step.
I would like it to be meetings of the technical advisory group, whoever it is, open to the public. And I would think before, they talk about some town hall meetings and, that when they do come to some findings, that might be a good point to say, you know, we've done our initial look and these are the findings, and then to give people an idea of what's been happening and what they're finding, and then come back after they've come up with traffic controls and measures and other recommendations would be a second. So,
I understand what you're saying, more public meetings. I think we stressed that as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
That there would need to be more.
well, I mean, I don't know that we necessarily need to have, I mean, we don't need to have an entire task force like we did with Wilson Drive, and that was kind of a nightmare, but I mean, I think as long as the meetings, as long as they're open, and if there's someone in the public who's really interested or wants to know what's going on and how things are happening, that at least there's the ability to come to those meetings. So
Yes, I think that's a great point.
about it.
Trustee McKay and then Buckles.
So how are we gonna fund the balance?
1,000?
So the CDA has approved 30,000?
Correct, the CDA approved 30 and the board approved 50.
What's the total?
Yeah, so.
Their contract is for 89,490.
From the parking utility, which we approved during budget.
So we're going over our original budget?
No, this was approved in the budget
50,000 was it?
from the reserve. No, the 10,000 from the parking utility reserves.
I don't recall.
Me and Mark had this big conversation.
I
He was- Okay, yeah. You can go back and look at the tape.
I don't want.
Well, I'll make a motion, I'm gonna vote against it, but just so we can expedite this. I move to consider, I don't know, what is the motion? The results of the RFP for transportation and parking analysis and award of contract to Walker Erickson.
Walker Consultants and Erickson Engineering Associates. Second,
Did you want to include
In the
that?
amount of
not to exceed.
not to exceed 50.
89.
Oh, that includes the CDA money?
The total contract cost.
Okay. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a need a second. And a second. Any further discussion?
Just thank you for all the work that went into it. I appreciate it.
It was a great experience. Okay, all those, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item on our, thank you, Director Bart.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is reports of village officials. Mine, I have none at this moment.
On Thursday at 6:30, talking about race at the library, it's a good program to go to.
Is there a conservation committee meeting, movie this weekend too?
The 15th, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
so we next week.
Fire meeting at 7:30. Okay, anything else?
Trustee Buckles?
Fire board, anything?
I'll try to be succinct. I had the honor of attending the governor's budget address in Madison on Thursday, and a lot of great things for our municipality in that budget. Hopefully it will make it through the legislature.
Oh, and there's a tax increment district policy change.
Yes, there is. And as well as some other really important municipal pieces of legislation that will directly impact us. I will be in DC next week for the Natural League of Cities for their Congressional Cities Conference that I go to just about every year. Great learning opportunity to learn from other municipal leaders from across the country, as well as we will be on the Hill, doing some Hill work 2 days of the 4. Let's see, what else? We had a trustee forum the other day, which was pretty well attended. Can I talk about this? Yeah. And there's a meet and greet tomorrow at the Senior Center, Senior Resource Center from 9 to 10, should any of you wish to come and say hello to us.
Trustee Warren.
Just very briefly, on Sunday, February 24th, there was a community potluck hosted by Shorewood Moving Forward. A really good discussion, kind of very informal, a lot of good food too.
You're
very
gonna
well.
get fat on the campaign trail.
Happens for all of us.
It was well attended and a lot of good conversation. Trustee Menta was there as well.
I was in Alabama.
Very good. Anybody else?
No.
Okay, do you have anything? Manager?
Well, pursuant to Nathan's guidance, it suggested that, the trustee Carpenter suggested that, you know, I go through some goals that were transmitted to the board prior to the evaluation, or after the evaluation was sent out. So, I can briefly update on them in open session under my report, and
That would be
then,
great.
you can adjourn to closed session, and then we will be.
So one of the things just prior to.
I printed them out because I didn't know.
Please
if
do.
everyone had them. Okay.
So one of the things that when I first started to embark upon, and then bring Jessica in as we got involved, but the manager review, since we've not had a process altogether, was to talk with Rebecca and see what she's used to, and she had mentioned that there's rarely a chance for her to address the whole board and talk about direction and, you know, some goals for the final year, and that any chance that she can have to do that is good for the village, so that we can